Hello everyone, this is Chromý and together we will continue the course Interdisciplinary Approaches to Language and its Use. In this presentation we will focus on the vocabulary size of adult speakers. We already discussed the adult vocabulary size briefly in one of the presentations on word learning in children. In the literature we can find various estimations of a vocabulary size. For example, Jean Aitchison, in her book Words in the Mind, claims that the number of words known by an educated adult is unlikely to be less than 50,000 and maybe as high as 250,000. On the other hand, Paul Nation claims that adult speakers know around 20,000 word families. The estimation differences stem from various methodological decisions. One thing is what to count. For example, we just saw that Jean Aitchison estimated the number of words, whereas Paul Nation estimated the number of word families. Another thing is what we test. Technically, it would be too complicated, if not impossible, to test the knowledge of all the words from the lexicon of a certain language. Therefore, people typically estimate the vocabulary size based on only a smaller amount of units, which we call the sample. And the last thing is the technique we use for the word knowledge testing. The first question we should ask while trying to achieve a solid estimation of adult vocabulary is what to count. There are two things we should decide here. The first is what will be the source of the words of the given language. On one hand, we may simply use the words in some large dictionary. This may be somehow complicated because the available dictionaries may be quite old and may not cover the contemporary lexicon of a language fully. On the other hand, we may use a reference corpus of the given language and use the list of words we get from that. This may be also problematic because there are languages which do not have a reference corpus or whose reference corpus is rather small and therefore does not contain the low-frequent words. The second issue is what to count as a unit. Should we count the knowledge of words like decide, decision, decisive, decisively, decider, undecided, and decidability as separate units or as one word family? And where are the boundaries of a word family? Is a noun, such as decision-making, a part of the family of the word decide or not? The answer is not straightforward, and we can see that there are many problems we encounter even at this first step of estimating. The second step is the sample. Imagine a situation when we already have the source list of units we would like to test. What we need to do now is to select the sample from the list. First, we need to establish the number of words we would test. We may go for 100 or we may go for even more. In any case, we should think carefully about the length of the testing process, since the participants would not be willing to take part in a study which takes too long. Second, we need to say, how do we proceed with the selection? One possibility is to create a random sample. This means that each unit on the list has the same chance to be selected. This can be done easily using the computer. Another possibility is to work with frequency bands. For example, we may form frequency bands based on intervals from 1 occurrence to 10 occurrences in the corpus, from 10 occurrences to 100 occurrences, from 100 to 1000 occurrences, and from more than 1000 occurrences. And then we may randomly choose a specific number of units from each frequency band. This may be a bit tricky, but the resulting estimation may be more precise because we may assume that the more frequent the word is, the higher is the chance that the speaker knows it. The third step we need to do is to decide what technique to employ. There are various possibilities and we will mention only three main ones here. First possibility is to ask the participants to choose a correct definition for each tested word. This type of measurement may be quite precise, but it also is time demanding, both on the side of the participant and on the side of the researcher. Another possibility is to ask the speakers whether they know the words or not. This can be quick, but the method has various shortcomings. For example, the speakers may overestimate their real knowledge of words. And a third possibility is to use the lexical decision task, which is a common psycholinguistic technique. The task includes both real words and non-existent words, and participants have to push a specific button if they know the word and another button if they do not. The reaction times can be measured, which can also be analyzed. We will introduce this method in more detail in the next presentation. One example which is available online is the site testyourvocab.com. The test is based on a sample of English words from various frequency bands. Participants' task is to check which words from the checklist they know, and then they get an estimation of the number of words they know in English. You may try it yourself. Before we will conclude this presentation, I have one reading tip for you. Vocabulary size may be measured for various purposes. Until now, we discussed primarily the vocabulary size of adult native speakers. This study by Paul Nation and Lawrence Anthony presents various measurements of the vocabulary size which can be employed for the purpose of testing the non-native speakers. So if you are interested in second language acquisition, you should definitely read it. If you enjoyed the presentations, we would be glad if you would like them on YouTube. That is all from me now. See you next time.